Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I came back from California last Tuesday. I stayed there for 2 weekends, and I visited 5 Zen centers and gave 7 Dharma talks. The purpose of my visit this time was to promote newly published books, the Zen teaching of Homer's Kodo and Dogen Zenji's workbook. So I talked on those 2 books, and people liked both books, so I was happy. And I sent 50 copies of workbook, and all 50 copies are gone. I gave several books to the teachers at the centers, so almost 50 copies were sold. Anyway, the weather there was really wonderful. Sometimes it was like a summer.
Yeah.
It's hot. But when I came back, I was surprised there's no snow, and it's not so cold. So I feel I'm relieved. When I returned from California in the airplane, I thought I'm going to return to the real weather, covered with snow or ice or at least frost. But these days it's pretty mild. Anyway, I continue to talk on this book, Opening the Hand of Thought. And this morning I talk on 3rd paragraph of page 102. In the beginning of this page, the new section started, that is delusion and Zazen. So now he starts to talk about Zazen. Before that, he talks about the one of the essential points of Buddha's teaching or Buddhist teachings, that is middle way between Wu and Mu, or being and non-being. And we are, Wu and Mu are our view or idea or opinion. But the reality of our life is neither Wu nor Mu. And in the last paragraph, he said, our Zazen, this Zazen is a practice that actualizes or manifests this middle way, instead of grasping our life or ourselves, either Wu or Mu. And he said in this paragraph, one might well ask whether we exert ourselves or not, aren't we always living life as it is? Isn't it nonsense to speak of living apart from life? This is indeed so, and it is the basis of the Buddhist teaching that all beings have Buddha nature. Please. That is, actualizing life is our very nature. In the first sentence of the previous paragraph, he says, Zazen enables life to be life by letting it be. And he started this paragraph as a question to these sayings. Zazen enables life to be life by letting it be. That means, whether we practice Zazen or not, whether we study Dharma or practice, Buddha's teaching, we are living life. Whether we are deluded or enlightened, whether we practice or not practice, whether we are, happy or unhappy, we are always living life. how can it possible to enable life to be life by our practice? And that is the question Okumura raised here. Whether we exert, make effort to ourselves to enable life to be life or not. And we always living life as it is. We cannot change the life because we are living life. And whatever condition, that is life. How can our effort or practice can change the life? Then isn't it nonsense to speak of living apart from life? Whatever condition we are right in the life, and that is life. So what's the meaning of practice or study or making effort to make life into life? And that is the question. And Okumura Roshi kind of agreed with this question. In whatever situation or condition we are living life, we cannot live separate from the life. And that is true. So he said, this is indeed so. And it is the basis of the Buddhist teaching that all beings have Buddha nature. That is, actualizing life is our very nature. So, in this paragraph, he said, this question, the person's question is correct. That means whether we make effort or not, whether we practice or not, we are living our life. There's no way to, live outside our life. So, why it's possible or necessary to practice? And Okumura said that is true, and because of that, in Buddhism it said all living beings have Buddha nature. But when we study Dogen, this all beings have Buddha nature needs to think carefully what this means. So now today I'd like to talk about this thing, all living beings have Buddha nature. And if we think because all living beings have Buddha nature, then we are already within the Dharma, or Dharma nature, or because in whatever condition we are living the life, so we don't need to practice. Everything is life, everything is Dharma. Then we make a mistake. So this is a kind of a strange thing, but to me, this is a really important point. What is our practice? What is our effort means? And why is it important? Well, all beings have Buddha nature is one of the important teaching of Mahayana Buddhism. And yet, this is this idea of Buddha nature appeared only in Mahayana Buddhism. In the early Buddhism, or in Shakyamuni Buddha's teaching, or even in the Nagarjuna's teachings, this concept, Buddha nature, does not appear. This idea or concept of Buddha nature appeared between Nagarjuna and Yogacara. Shakyamuni Buddha lived about 4 century BCE, before Common Era. And Mahayana Buddhism around the 1st century, and Nagarjuna lived 2 to 3 centuries, and Yogacara school appeared 4th century, and so this is around the time Mahayana Buddhism emerged, and the Mahayana Buddhism before Nagarjuna is called Early Mahayana, and several sutras, several Mahayana sutras such as Prajna Paramita or the Lotus Sutra or Avatansaka Sutra, and also Pure Land Buddhist Sutra made in this time. And Nagarjuna made kind of a philosophical foundation on this teaching using the concept of shunyata or emptiness. But around that time, Nagarjuna's school is called Madhyamika, and Madhyamika means seeing the middle. So for Nagarjuna, to see the middle way is important. But after Nagarjuna, there are two kind of Mahayana Buddhist theory was created. One is so-called Yogacara, and usually this teaching is called consciousness only. And another one is Buddha nature or Tathagatagarbha. Of course, Tathagata means the Buddha, and Garbha means womb or embryo, that is a baby. And the teaching of the very basic teaching of Tathagatagarbha is, the Buddha is within ourselves, each one of us, and yet it is hidden, like embryo is hidden within the womb, and yet when the embryo is born and grow and become mature, because this is a Buddha's baby, when it become Buddha. It become mature, it become Buddha. So in all living beings, there is a Tathagatagarbha, or baby Buddha, but it is hidden. That is the very basic teaching, and it is this Tathagatagarbha or Buddha nature doesn't change, whether it is hidden within the very deluded human living beings, and it doesn't reveal at all. That means we are all very deluded. Still, there is a Buddha in there. That is the basic teaching of Tathagatagarbha. And Yogacara school teaches whatever we experience is our consciousness. We cannot really see the reality as it is, as an object. Whatever we experience as subject and object is production of our consciousness. So these three teachings become important teaching in Mahayana Buddhism. And of course, when all those teachings are introduced to China, some group think this is the basic teaching, or most important and the highest teaching, and the other people thought this is very important, very practical way of teaching. And some people think this is the best, most important for us. We need a faith that we have Buddha nature to encourage us to practice, even though it looks we are all very deluded. But if we practice following Buddha's teaching, then sometimes in the future we become Buddha. This is a kind of a belief or faith. And all these three teachings are mixed together in China. And in Zen, this teaching of Buddha nature become very important. So to find Buddha nature, to discover that this baby that is hidden is actually called Kensho. Ken means to see, and Sho is nature, that means Buddha nature. Seeing Buddha nature or discovering Buddha nature is one of the very important points in Mahayana Buddhism. Anyway, in this teaching of Tathagatagarbha, one of the most important sutra made in India was Mahayana Parinibbana Sutra. And in that sutra, it is said, Issai Shujō Shitsu Ushō. Issai means all, Shujō is living beings, and Shitsu is all of them, or without exception, completely, and U is half, and Bussho is Buddha nature. So all living beings, without exception, all of them have Buddha nature. This is a very basic statement about the Buddha nature. So each one of us, whoever we are, we have Buddha nature. Therefore, all human beings, all living beings have possibility to become Buddha if we study Buddha's teaching and practice Buddha's teaching and getting mature little by little, sooner or later, maybe not within this lifetime. It takes, three great kalpas. That means more than forever. But there is possibility because we have Buddha nature. That is the basic teaching. But Zen, especially Chinese Zen people, didn't like this idea that it takes more than forever. They want to see Buddha nature within this lifetime. That is called the sudden enlightenment. And one of the kind of famous sayings in Zen is, in usual or common teaching in Mahayana Buddhism was, after we arouse bodhicitta and aspiration to become a Buddha student and start to practice and study, in order to reach the goal, that is Buddhahood, we need to go through 52 stages. This is a common idea of how Bodhisattva become Buddha. But that very famous teaching in Zen is Icho Jiki Nyu Nyorai Chi. That Ichi means one, Cho is go beyond or transcend, and Jiki is directly, Nyu is enter, and Nyorai is Tathagata, and Chi is ground, but Nyorai Chi means Buddhahood. So with one jump, directly enter the Buddhahood, instead of going little by little, gradually, and finally reach the Buddhahood. This is called gradual practice. And then people said their teaching is sudden enlightenment. That means within one jump we enter Buddhahood. That is Buddha's teaching. I mean, one of the important points of Chinese Zen teaching. That so from Zen point of view, the other Mahayana practice is very kind of slow, and it takes forever. But Zen teaching is like taking shortcut or take an airplane instead of walking. And that is this statement, all living beings without exception have Buddha nature, is the basis of this idea of sudden enlightenment. But problem is Dogen. In Soto Zen tradition that was founded by Dogen, we follow Dogen's teaching. And Dogen have a question about this teaching. So, then he discussed about Buddha nature. His idea is quite different from the common idea of Buddha nature in Mahayana Buddhism or even in Chinese Zen. That is strange, and that is a problem. I write the sentence from the Parinibbana Sutra again. Issai Shujou Shitsu Bushou Tsu. This part is no problem, all living beings. But Dogen did this part quite different way. He wrote a chapter of Shobo Genzo entitled Buddha Nature. So and this is one of the longest chapter or the fascicle in Shobo Genzo. And he discussed about what Buddha nature is, and this was one of the most difficult writing of Dogen. But anyway, in the beginning of Shobo Genzo Bussho or Buddha nature, he discussed the meaning of this phrase, Shitsu Bussho, and that is what Okumura Roshi wrote in Japanese version of this paragraph. When he says, all beings have Buddha nature. Okumura Roshi wrote this phrase, Shitsu Bussho. And of course, as a common way of reading this phrase, all beings have Buddha nature is correct. It's not a mistake. Or actually, this is the only way to read this phrase. But Dogen did this in a very kind of a strange way. This shitsu is adverb without exception, or all of them, and u is have. That is very common and right way to read this Chinese phrase. But he did this shitsu as one word. So this is not adverb and verb, but he did this shitsu as a noun. That means this u can mean have, but also can mean be or being. And shitsu means can also mean entire. So he did this shitsu as entire being. And he did this sentence as all living beings, or entire being of all living beings, is Buddha nature. So it's not a matter of have. So, this translation in this book is not mistaken. This is a common way of reading this phrase. This is the only possible way. But when we study Dogen, we have to be careful. That means he doesn't say Buddha nature is something that can be owned by living beings. If living beings can own these things called Buddha nature, then this person and Buddha nature are separate. This person, this is subject, and Buddha nature is object of to be owned. But Dogen did this as all beings, entire beings, so not a part of it. As I said, a common understanding of Buddha nature is, we are deluded, but within our life or within ourselves, there is Buddha nature, which is always enlightened, never change. So no matter how deluded we are, Buddha nature does not lose the beauty or preciousness and doesn't change. Whether this way is hidden with very deluded person, or whether Buddha nature in Buddha completely revealed. The Buddha nature never change. That is the meaning of Buddha nature in common idea. So often Buddha nature is compared with the diamond covered with rock or dirt. When diamond is hidden within rock, it doesn't reveal the beauty. So first thing we have to do is to discover this Buddha nature, this diamond. It's hidden within the rock. When we discover, the precious Buddha nature is hidden within us, then next thing we have to do is take this dirt or the rock out and polish this diamond. That is a process of our practice. Then the beauty and preciousness of diamond start to be revealed. That is the idea of our practice based on this teaching of Buddha nature. But when Dogen did this all living beings the entire beings of all living beings is Buddha nature. There's no such separation in Dogen's idea. With beautiful diamond and ugly and diluted rock or dust. This entirety is Buddha nature. So Dogen is a strange person. When we study the common teaching of Mahayana Buddhism and the common teaching of Chinese Zen, Dogen is something different. That is a problem. And when we think of Buddha nature in this way, in Dogen's way, Buddha nature is entirety of this body and mind, or these five skandhas. It's not one part that is hidden and yet precious and doesn't change. And there's no such thing that doesn't change and precious within five skandhas. Five skandhas are only there. Then what is this something which doesn't change? Is a kind of a problem in Buddhist teaching, because Shakyamuni said only five skandhas are there. There's nothing that doesn't change. Five skandha means our body and mind. Our body and mind are always changing. Then what this Buddha nature can be is, I think, Dogen's question. So he said, Buddha nature is not something like this. And our practice is not discovering the diamond and take this dirty part out and polish the diamond. So our practice is moment by moment. That means, in my understanding, in the case of Dogen teaching, and after for a while, this seed grow and become a matured tree, and this tree can bloom flowers or bear fruits. Then this tree can offer something to other beings. So we need help or support from all beings as a condition to grow. And when we become mature enough, we have something to offer to other beings. So that means this small being and all other conditions that support this small seeds start to grow.